want y'all to know I had every intention of recording a video for this Heal Talk, but then I realized that I had took notes that I needed to reference for this video, and I do all my recordings on my phone currently, so I could not record an actual video and reference these notes that are on my phone. But before we get into all of that, welcome back to the channel, and thank you for supporting the channel and taking the time to invest in more peace. This is Heal Talk Ep.2, titled Know When It's Time to Go. And I don't know about y'all, but the ending of 2025 is definitely reeling in endings. And I can say from a personal standpoint, it's not an ending where I feel like the things that are ending or leaving my life are things that I am regretful about. I'm not holding on to these things that need to be shed, and that's a really playful place. Did I say playful? It's a really peaceful place to be. I feel like this didn't just start, December of 2025. I feel like I've been shedding really throughout the whole year. But I feel like it really hit home, like, certain around the summertime this year. But I'll get into all of those things. There are a few topics that I wanted to talk about on this Heal Talk in terms of letting go and in terms of knowing when it's time to let go. And ultimately, like I said, just being at peace with it, understanding what needs to stay and what doesn't, understanding what works for you and what doesn't, and honoring what was so that what has to leave isn't bitter. It isn't even bittersweet. It just is. So the first topic that I wrote down was departing from connections that aren't positively serving those within it. Departing from connections that aren't positively serving those within it. Maybe you're parting from something that you grew comfortable with, or someone you grew comfortable with being a part of your life, but now you understand that as you evolve and as they evolve, you aren't evolving with each other physically anymore. And when it comes to that understanding, when you've reached that understanding, you can peacefully depart with it. It's not to say that you won't take the things that taught you, the lessons gained within the experience. You'll always take those with you, and that's ultimately, I believe, the purpose within it all. But if you know that this connection has come to a place where it can no longer be upheld, kept or even reconcilable, I feel like that clarity brings the peace. That clarity makes it smoother to depart from because you understand internally why this can't move forward. And the next bullet I wrote underneath that was being honest with yourself about how being in connection is affecting both of you. Personal story time, no, not really. But no, as this relates to me, I realized that in a previous connection that I had, I was growing into a place within it where I felt like I had to prove myself within it. And actions that I took in trying to express that was over everything, overcompensating, overthinking, overdoing, overextending myself to the point where I was draining myself. And please, please, please understand when you are a willing participant in your own suffering. You cannot point the finger at somebody and say, this is how this person is making me feel, without looking in the mirror and being truthful and honest and saying, okay, but you're participating in this willingly. Why? I got to a place in a certain connection where it literally made me sick. Like, literally. Made me sick. And it taps into your mental state of mind and your physical well-being when you're trying to be all and do all just to prove your position in somebody's life, when you have ultimately nothing to prove. How are you showing up for yourself? And are you doing more for the people outside of you or the things outside of you and not making yourself a priority, the first priority at that? Because if you don't have a full cup, you can't look to anybody else to fill your cup. And that's not what connections, healthy connections at that, are about. And the next bullet I wrote, staying for the wrong reasons, namesake. Whew. Are you in a connection with something or someone just for namesake? Again, it goes back to that being comfortable. You've been doing this for so long, you don't want to change now because you fear change, because you fear being uncomfortable again, because you fear starting anew, starting over. Listen, starting over gets a bad rep sometimes. It ain't nothing wrong with change. There's nothing wrong with starting over. There's nothing wrong with beginning again. In fact, if you reach that point, in my personal perspective, if you reach a point where you are starting over again, that means possibly that you're leveling up. That this portion of your life, this period in your story, it's time to turn the page. It's time to start a new chapter with everything that has happened that has made you wiser to carry forward. Not in the same way, but differently with, again, the lessons that you've learned. It's very important to look at the lessons and reflect on what the lesson is. Next bullet point. Honoring the worth of your past and accepting when it's time to be single again. Now, this is a little bit more specific towards relationship aspect of things. Knowing when it's time to be single again. So many of us, me included, want to be in a relationship. And it's a beautiful thing. But I've grown to learn and accept that there is beauty in being single too. There's worthiness in being single too. There's purpose and joy and peace in being single and wanting it for yourself. There's a time and a purpose within it that should really be savored. It's sacred. Being single doesn't necessarily mean that you're alone. In fact, if you are single and you're listening to this, honor you and get to know more about you and the changes that you're experiencing, the newness of you, the transformation. I feel like if you're living and breathing still, then there's still opportunity to evolve. There's still more of you that's coming to the forefront, that's being birthed. And you have to honor that path of becoming all that you can be. And sometimes becoming all that you can be is a journey that you have to take by yourself. Maybe this portion or period during your path is preparing you for whatever comes next. And you have to be accepting and peaceful with whatever that is. The focus is you. Next bullet point. Honoring fully the perceivable good and bad. When it comes to connections, and I've mentioned this already, but you have to be able to reflect and find clarity within it and accept the perceivable good that connection brought you and the quote-unquote perceivable bad. I say perceivable because what you may perceive as good and bad can differ between the individual or the individuals within a certain connection. I can look back on something and be like, man, that was horrible. That was bad. Or that was good. But that has more to do with my own internal compass and how I perceive things. But ultimately, growing into a place where you can honor it all, the experience fully. The next bullet, heeding the lessons the connection brought. When it comes to departing, knowing when it's time to go, really take the time to understand why it's time. And reflect on what it brought you in terms of lessons, in terms of experience. I can say for me, one of the biggest lessons that I've learned this year is where to place my time, my energy, and my effort. Those things are much more valuable than money or monetary things. That's that's some of the most expensive currency. Your time, your energy, your effort. How is it being spent? Is it being withdrawn? Is it depositing back into you? Next bullet. Clarity brings more peace and deepens the love you have for yourself, and in return, the love you can share/have for others. Again, I referenced that filling your cup. Again, you can't pour into anybody else. And let me reverse that. You really shouldn't be pouring into anybody else. If your cup runneth over because you pour into yourself, what runneth over is what is being shared with anybody else. The sharing becomes somewhat seamless because it's already overflowing, it's existing. If you feel like you're depleting yourself for the sake of being in connection with someone or something, then it's time to pull it back and reflect. Again, finding your reasons why. How is it serving you? And are you able to show up for yourself? Next bullet. Becoming better. This experience was meant to aid in your transition to a newer version of yourself. I feel like that's already something I've touched on. But it bears repeating. Becoming better. This experience was meant to aid in your transition to a newer version of yourself. If you can look back in reflection after coming to terms with something that you have to part with, and you ultimately feel like you are a better person because of it, it served its purpose. And that brings me to my final bullet point, gratitude. Reaching a place of gratitude for what was and what is and what stands to become. You can look back and be grateful for the tough moments, the tears, if there ever were any, the stress, the laughter, the comfort. Ultimately, all of this makes you more self-aware. And again, it deepens that love for yourself. And if you can reach that point and realizing that you are growing deeper in love with yourself. Again, it's that cup that runneth over. I feel like that's ultimately what we're all here for. Knowing thyself, growing in love deeper and higher with ourselves and our Creator, and letting that love overflow and manifest into everything that's already written for you, everything that's already destined for you. Don't hold on to things out of fear, out of being comfortable. You have more life to live. All the people that you've loved may not be all the people that you've loved. And if you truly felt like you reached love in a connection that you have to let go, know that letting go is also love. You can let go in love. And when I say in love, I mean love's sake, the sake of, the sake for love. If you want to be better because you love yourself, then you know you can extend that same grace to somebody else. Let them go be the greatest version and the better version of themselves for the sake of love. You don't have to be a part of it if you're doing it from a loving, genuine place. You wish them well, just like you wish yourself well. I hope this resonates with you. And if you like this video, please like it, share it, leave a comment, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. More peace to the journey.